to those in Sweden, good afternoon. We are proud to start our website here. Welcome to the webinar of Doing Business with Sweden. This is an interactive webinar, and we're here to answer your questions. So please definitely submit your questions. You'll find the question and answer button at the bottom or the top of your screen, depending how it's laid out. You can start submitting your questions even now. We'll be logging those to ask near the end or as time permits. You can even submit them anonymously if you'd like, if you don't want to have your name out there. While you're submitting your questions, though, I will talk to you a little bit about Scarborough and give you an introduction to who we are and what we do. We're a full-service international and domestic logistics provider with a heavy presence in customs brokering, and we've been operating since 1984. We're headquartered here in the heart of America in Kansas City, Missouri, but we do have offices throughout the nation. And on top of that, we have close partnerships with other agencies just like us throughout the globe. So, and one of those agents is with us today. We're here. We're lucky actually to have Jerry with us today. He's a very busy man. Jerry is with Intex Logistics. Like I mentioned, they're one of our partners that we greatly trust throughout the globe. They're in Sweden. They have offices. I'll let Jerry talk more about where they have offices throughout Europe as well. But Jerry, tell us a little bit about Intex and what you do.
Yeah, we do about the same as you do in Scarborough, and it's a privately held company started in 2003. We have offices in 9 different countries out in Europe. But head office and where we do most of the business is located in Sweden.
That's great. Well, since you've told us a little bit about Intex and whatnot, let's jump into telling everyone kind of about Sweden and what we can expect when we do business there.
Okay, it's a really stable economy. We work a lot like the same as you do in the US. We are a quite small country, only 10 million people living there. So it's not big at all. And we have quite low unemployment. It's only 3.6%. So we're really stable when it comes to financially, and do export quite a lot. We do have quite high taxes in Sweden. The VAT is 25%, and it's deductible for all the Swedish companies who do imports. So it's normally paid by the consignee, so never sell anything on DDP basis to Sweden, because then you have to add another 25% to the value. Swedish people are quite familiar with e-commerce. We do spend a lot of money, especially my daughter. She loves to shop on the internet, and I think we're quite used to, for all different ages, to do the e-commerce shopping. And the younger kids follow a lot of the bloggers and influencers, and I think that a lot of stores in Sweden will have to shut down and become more like showrooms where you could do your e-shopping at the showroom. You can see the products, but you can't bring them out of the store. When it comes to Sweden and the top exports, we're quite big in cars. We do have the production of Volvo, even though it's Chinese nowadays. We're quite big in telecom equipment. And when it comes to wood and paper and mining equipment as well. The top export countries would be like Germany, Norway, Finland, the US, Denmark, and the UK. And when it comes to imports, we do import a lot of electricals, foodstuffs, cars, oil, stuff like that. And the countries we do most import from is Germany, Netherlands, Norway, Denmark, UK, and Belgium. When it comes to the Swedish culture, we're quite relaxed people. but we do like the timing. Timing is really crucial. If you arranged a meeting at like 9 o'clock, you should be there 9 o'clock sharp. We do have normally 1 hour lunch break between 12 and 1. And the Swedes are very punctual and expect the same from everybody else. When it comes to corporate culture, it depends a lot of what kind of branch you're in. And that is also what to wear. So, but the Swedes are quite relaxed people, so it's not that important to wear a suit and a tie.
What about Jerry? Can you speak to if we're going out for a dinner with a client or whatever? It's just going to be business casual as well. There's not going to be a like you said, business attire for a meal out or anything like that. But
no, you could wear like a pair of jeans and a sneakers and a shirt and jacket. That would be perfect.
Okay, it's good to know. Let's go to the next slide, Kim.
When it comes to the language, we learn English quite early in school. We start when we're about 10 years old. So most of the Swedes are okay, both in verbal and written, when it comes to the English language. And the Swedes are very formal in the beginning of a business relation. But afterwards, when you do move to the next step, you get like more informal and it's more friendly, like you know each other for many years. Visual presentations are quite important, and we do speak English, Swedish. Some of us do speak French and German as well, but mainly English when it comes to business. When it comes to the body language, there's nothing specific to keep in mind. We're really a lot like you in the US, like smile, give an eye contact. There's nothing much to keep in mind. I don't know if you see the map of Sweden, but I assume you do. And as you can see, there's a lot of like wood and paper up north and some parts of the middle of Sweden, and the car industry, the automotive industries are located close to Stockholm and Gothenburg, which is the main biggest cities in Sweden.
And Jerry, you said Gothenburg gets down south and Stockholm is
it's on the west side. You can see the icon with the car. It's quite close to Gothenburg there. And Stockholm is on the other side.
Great.
North up.
What amount of what percentage of the population would you say lives in the southern portion of the country?
I would say from like a bit north from Stockholm and down, it would be like 75% of the population.
Okay.
So it's not that crowded up north. It's way too cold.
just reindeer up there.
The infrastructure is quite bad as well.
What's that? The infrastructure? Okay.
Yeah. It takes you about 1 full day to drive from Stockholm up north to Luleå, for example.
All right. That is a long time.
It is. When it comes to business opportunities, I would say there's no limits at all. Swedish companies have a lot of experience doing business with the US. We're quite influenced by US as well. We follow like American talk shows, news, and we hopefully know quite a lot of US. And I think the business culture is very similar as you have. And as I said before, the Swedish companies are quite casual.
You mentioned earlier that the e-commerce becoming a larger part of the Swedish economy. You said there's a chance that businesses will have to shift a little bit. Will they switch, you said, more from storefronts to showrooms where people can just come shop in there, more like a brick and mortar Amazon?
Because you see like more and more shopping malls have to close down because there's not that much of a business there any longer. A lot of the business for like shoes clothes, electronics is more on e-commerce.
Okay. All right.
If you want to find like a buyer or supplier in Sweden, you should go on a lot of trade shows like English, the Chamber of Commerce, the Swedish exhibitions, Stockholm exhibition, and you can follow the links shown on the on your pages.
And for those people who are watching, we will be sending out copies of this presentation as well, so that you can click on those links afterwards as well.
The main port in Sweden is Gothenburg. It's Scandinavia's biggest port. It's 70% of the Scandinavian population and industries are within 5 hours drive from Gothenburg port. The second biggest is Helsingborg. It's down south, and it's not much compared to Gothenburg at all. And Stockholm has actually 2 ports, one south and one closer to the city center. But when it comes to transports, I would say about 50-60% of the cargo goes through Gothenburg, both imports and exports.
Is there a portion of the freight that comes in into one of these ports because of pricing? Is there a better pricing out of one port versus another?
Yeah, because mainly Swedish cargo goes through like down in Europe, like Bremerhaven, Hamburg, Rotterdam, and ports like that, and then sent up by feeder to Sweden. But when it comes to Gothenburg, we do have some direct calls for some shipping lines because the port is big enough to handle direct calls.
Great. What about the airports too? Is there
there's a difference when it comes to the airports. Stockholm is by far the biggest, and followed by Gothenburg and Malmö. Malmö is down south. And Gothenburg is on the west, and Stockholm is on the east side. When it comes to the Incoterms, I would say you could use the ones you're normally used to. Swedes are quite familiar to the Incoterms, and I would say it doesn't matter too much which one you prefer to use.
In regards to importing, I know we recommend a lot of our importing, I should say, exporting out of Sweden and importing into America. Well, I should say we usually advise our customers either EXWorks or FOB, EXW or FOB.
When it comes to import, we recommend them to use like EXWorks or FOB, and when it comes to exports, we recommend like CIF, CPT, and DAP.
Okay, that's good, because I know that some countries around the globe are not able to do like a DAP or even a DDP just because of governmental regulations.
But Swedish governments are quite easy to work with, and we could do like a customs clearance really quick because we're AEO certified, so we can do everything electronically, and I would say you could do it within like a couple of minutes. So it's quite easy to work with Sweden in that sentence.
Okay, that's good. Are there any benefits to people exporting out of the U.S. into Sweden that would just bring it up to like a Gothenburg or an airport like Stockholm and let their consignee take care of the freight? Is there any benefits to that?
Well, it depends, of course. Normally, we try to inform our clients which port or airport they should use because of the charges. And normally we do like a lot of, for the imports, even though we don't control the cargo into Sweden, we do like the deliveries, the clearance and stuff like that. And then we try to recommend them which port or airport we should go for.
Okay, great. Thank you. Great. That was a very effective presentation. Gave me a little more insight into hopefully how to advise my customers and hopefully everyone watching how they can do business with Sweden and navigate. Doesn't seem to be a lot of complexity. It seems like a very open and inviting country that wants to do business with almost any country out there. So
Yeah, I would say so. And since we're so influenced by the US, we like to do business with US companies.
yeah, that's good. Well, we got a couple questions here. I know we got some coming in. Keep those of you listening, feel free to keep submitting questions. We will answer as many as we can during the time we have left. We do have quite some time left to answer questions, so keep them coming in, and we'll get to them as many as we can. Some of the questions I have here, I'll start with you, Jerry. What are some items that may be prohibited to ship to Sweden, or out of Sweden, either one?
I would say there's actually nothing which is prohibited, because more or less everything is allowed. There might be some kind of cargo like ammunition. You need like an export license if you want to send it to the US.
Mm-hmm.
You need an import license if you want to import it. If you have some kind of restricted cargo, of course, you need to follow the rules and regulations for that one. But otherwise, it's free to import or export more or less anything.
That's great. It's a pretty, like I said, pretty open market, except for military type items.
Exactly.
Good. In regards to shipping and transportation documents, what kind of documents are required by the shipper or the consignee to import or export into or out of Sweden?
Normally, a commercial invoice and a packing list. That would be fine.
Okay. I know some countries require, when it comes to bills of lading, stuff like originals or stuff of that nature. Is telex release or express release?
Yeah, I would say like in a startup, in a new relation with a new like consignee, a new client, it might be a good idea to use the originals. But once you get to know each other, it's better for everybody if you could like have an express release.
That's great. Okay, it's good to safeguard yourself at first, but once the relationship blossoms, you can definitely switch to an easier.
Yeah, exactly.
Does Sweden have any rules or regulations against carnets or against any particular commodities?
No, I wouldn't say. It's the same with anything else you ship to Sweden. It's quite easy. The customs procedures are not that complex, and quite easy to handle.
That's good. How do you if you're shipping from Sweden, if someone is one of our customers, can you explain the process how they can ship from Sweden if we use Intex?
Well, if you're looking from Sweden to US, you mean?
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Normally we do like set up first a quote with the client so they're satisfied, and once we send it out, we send you guys at Scarborough the pre-alert, so you could get in contact with the consignee, and we send like a copy of the bill of lading, the packing list, and the invoice, and that's about it.
And then we take care of the rest. Yeah.
Exactly. It's not much to keep in mind. It's quite easy.
That's good to hear. We have a lot of clients here in Kansas City that are part of the animal health industry and Scarborough is kind of known for some of our expertise in that area. We have a couple questions in regards to that. Do people in Sweden, do they typically own more dogs or cats as a general?
I would say about 50-50. If you're like a dog person, you don't have a cat, or if you're a cat person, you don't have a dog. But pets are quite like common in Sweden.
So since they're quite common, I know in America we have a trend where animal owners are they're treating their pets or their loved one, their pets as loved ones, which they should be, but more like almost children. So do you see that as a trend in Sweden as well? Are pets?
Yeah, absolutely, and they spend a lot of money into the pet industry.
That's good. Good for those people in those industries. So take note of those if you're listening. What is the market perception in terms of maybe high-end products and food versus mass-produced products for pets? I guess you kind of answered a little bit, but are they?
Well, I think it differs a bit where consider where you live in Sweden. Like big city areas, they want to have more of the high-end products. But when you go out on the countryside, you can give them more or less leftovers.
They're not as picky as what you're saying, the
No,
dogs and
that's
cats?
for sure.
Oh, well, that's good. I suppose that's a lot like America too. In our rural areas, um, the, uh, the products tend to be more mass produced than high end boutique products.
Yeah.
So, and you may mention this a little bit ago in this last question. So, you think the high end products will be more welcomed as a trend as it's continuing to rise for pets,
Yeah,
as more
absolutely.
companies bring those
Absolutely.
products in. Okay, that's
That's
good.
for sure.
What are the countries from which some of these products do you know offhand
Yeah,
which
we do
countries
have
transport them
some
in
we
Sweden?
do have some production in Sweden, of course, and but mainly I would say we import pet food from other European countries
Okay.
because Europe, every country in Europe is really close located to each other. So it's like 2 days trucking from Germany up to Sweden.
Mm.
So it's nothing considered when it comes to transport times.
So it's
And
much like the U.S. in that regard, where you guys all
exactly.
act as other states or locations are really close to each other, which is great.
It's more like domestic US, right?
Okay. Um, so can you update us? I know you're having an election right now. I've watched some videos on
That's for
different candidates
sure.
in power and
We
whatnot.
do like have two sides like you do, like one Democrats and one Republicans.
Sure.
And I would say it was a tie.
Okay.
So at the time being, nobody knows what will happen. And they will be doing some negotiations the next coming weeks. So
And the
we see
negotiations
what
will
happens.
definitely, that's how they align their power and get
Yeah,
laws
exactly.
established. Okay. That's good. All right. Well, hopefully, I don't know how that will. I mean, we always hope that businesses are catered to in that regard as far as international trade. So,
Yeah, I don't think it will have that big impact to Swedish trade, to be honest.
more,
It's
is it
more a
a policy
discussion
side?
of how much tax you have to pay as on your salary, more or less.
Yeah.
That's the biggest discussion,
And
and
I
we do
think
pay a
that's
lot.
a cross country issue. I think every
Yeah,
country that talks about that. So,
but we do pay a lot.
all right. um, what types of sales channels for our customers do you suggest we market to in Sweden? Is social media or
Yeah, social media is one way, and I think if you like show up in a on a trade shows, you get like better insight in your specific business, because I think it differs a lot in what kind of business you're into.
okay.
So there's no only one single answer to that one.
Okay, so I guess if we go back to the e-commerce stuff, that would that be more suited for the social media aspect?
Yeah, absolutely.
And how about for if you were in the like manufacturing or even animal health, as we talked about earlier? Would those are there trade shows out there for those type of?
Yeah, there's specific like pet trades, and there's a lot of trade shows in Sweden. And I think you need like a really strong partner who can promote your products in Sweden. So if you get
Hence,
like a sales agent or something,
I'd say that one more time. If you get a what?
you need somebody to promote your products in Sweden if you want to export from the US to Sweden. So you need like a partner who's strong in that specific area, and they can promote and sell your products on the local market.
Great. Okay. And that's something that if our partners had a client that they need to vet a little bit more, is that something that we could get Intex to maybe help us with the vetting process to see if they're a viable customer or
Yeah,
a real
absolutely.
person, not a scam?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's great. Is now in America we're facing stuff like trucking shortages and just an increase in rates in that industry because of different mandates and whatnot. What about in Sweden? Are you guys facing any type of trucking issues or
Absolutely. That's a major problem in Sweden because the salaries for the truckers are a bit too low, to be honest. So nobody wants to become a trucker nowadays.
okay?
And Entex owns 800 fully owned trailers operating all over Europe. And we have, in some areas, really big problems to find truckers.
So you're definitely an asset when in regards to our destination
Yeah, absolutely.
trucking options. It's great. Helps to be able to have someone like you that can navigate those dynamics.
Exactly.
Um, what switching back to more culturally a little bit, what is the holiday schedule like in the summer in Sweden?
Um, we have the biggest holiday of all year is like midsummer, and it's in the end of June, and that's everybody in Sweden celebrates that. That's
Okay.
a really big. It's more like during a weekend. It's like your 4th of July, more or less.
Okay. So is there you guys the whole country shuts down whether it's private business or governmental business? It's kind of everyone takes that day off.
Yeah, that's for sure. Nobody works that day.
Okay. What is
And
there?
during the summer, Swedes have a lot of vacation. So it's very common you take like 4 weeks off during the period of June, July, or August. So normally during that period, it's a bit short-staffed at most of the companies in Sweden.
Okay. That's it sounds like a sounds like a great vacation for 4 weeks
Yeah,
off.
it is. It is.
The our customers out there, those listening to the webinar, definitely hopefully will take notice of the if they're dealing with a consignee over there, that during that time they either may not get as many responses from their consignees
No,
or
that's
from their shippers.
and everybody in Sweden, no matter how long you've been working for the company, are allowed to take 5 weeks vacation during the year.
Wow, that's great. It's a great benefit to them.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so we'll definitely keep that in mind as we obviously we're closing out summer, and you guys are on the same hemisphere as us. So we'll. But how about winter? Yeah, I know you guys have a pretty brutal winter as everyone hunkers down, I'm sure. But
Yeah. So we need the summer vacation.
you guys have been cooped in the house for 7 months, so you got to go back out.
Exactly.
Um, what does this holiday schedule look like in the winter? Is there a lot of holidays that are it shuts the country down?
No, I wouldn't say. Since you have like 5 weeks off, a lot of Swedes try to take 1 week off during the winter period to go skiing or something, but that's not during a specific period because that period is quite long. So you could do it like in November, December, January, February, doesn't matter.
Okay. So since the season is longer, you can stretch your vacations out. You don't have to take them all at the same time.
Exactly.
There you go.
But during the summer, it's more like intense.
All right. That's good. Switching gears a little bit to requirements and restrictions for dangerous goods. Tell us about maybe items that you as Intex or other forwarders can handle. And also, since you're in the trucking industry over there, tell us some of the special requirements or restrictions for hazmat goods.
Yeah, there's no specific Swedish local regulations when it comes to hazmat. Entex are able to handle everything but radioactives.
Okay.
That's the only hazmat we don't handle because it requires way too much training and education. It's not worth the effort.
That's good.
Everything else we can handle.
Okay. And I suppose a lot of the radioactive might be in regards to military stuff anyways, which might be handled by them. So that's good. Good to know. But with your trucking, can you take stuff from Sweden? Like you said, you had 800 trailers all across Europe. You guys have no problem operating in Sweden with hazmat and then taking it into other countries within Europe.
No, exactly. That's not well, we have to dedicate a specific trucker who have the training, of course, but otherwise it's okay.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, it's probably a lot like, once again, this different states. As long as we have a hazmat certified driver here in the States, we can truck it to different parts of our country. Don't have to worry about switching drivers, halfway through. So
yeah.
If one of our customers decide to sell on DDP terms, and those of us if we're not familiar with DDP, that would be considered all the transportation costs paid by the shipper up to the ultimate destination, as well as any customs clearance charges and any duties and taxes are paid by the shipper. So if they're selling on DDP terms, can you get your GST or VAT tax back? And if so, how do we go about that?
No, you can't. If you do it like DDP, you have to pay it.
Okay.
The only way you get it back is like if the consignee accept to do that. And since it's deductible, there's normally not a problem at all. So it's better to send on a DAP basis.
So maybe explain that a little bit for us, Jerry, in regards to DDP terms. If you were a importer of record in Sweden, how does that GST VAT tax back work?
The government charges the VAT directly to the Swedish consignee. And once a month, they do like a tax declaration to the government. And then you can deduct all the VAT charges for imports.
Okay. And is that something that these type of rules that you guys have in Sweden, is that something that's kind of commonplace throughout Europe or just to Sweden?
No, I think it's within the union. It's the same tax rules.
Okay, great. So
you could do like a clearance in Germany on a Swedish company, and the German government will charge the Swedish government, who will charge the Swedish client. So
okay.
When it comes to within the union, it's the same regulations.
Okay. So in your recommendation, as we look through that process of the DDP shipments or D.
Yeah, I strongly recommend a DAP instead.
And that way our clients can then push that clearance charges onto their customer, onto the Swedish consignee to be able to have the most benefit for the dollar.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that's good. We don't want to, on either side, whether it's the Swedish side or the American side, we don't want to, incur more charges than are necessary.
So true.
What are the, are there, I should say, and maybe I should be, but shouldn't be so cavalier to assume there is, but what are some famous items maybe that are shipped from between Sweden to the USA, or famous items from USA to Sweden? I'm sorry, Sweden from the USA or Sweden to the USA. I don't know if I was confusing enough for you there, Jerry. But are there like obviously you mentioned Volvo cars was.
Of course, and then you have like a lot of the heavy industries like SKF, the ball bearings.
Okay.
And you do have some telecom equipment from Ericsson. And we do import quite a lot of like cars from the US as well. And I would say we do import about anything from the US. We do have several of clients who imports like valves and couplings for water pipes and stuff like that. We do have clients in a lot of different branches and areas. So I wouldn't say there's any kind of specific items or commodities.
All right, so it's kind of all of everything.
Yeah, about it.
Coming back to pet food manufacturing and pet food industries, we have a question here that has asked about pet food manufacturing in Sweden. Did you mention earlier that are there pet food manufacturers in Sweden, or is all the food that you guys use?
No, there's at least one.
Okay, so there is some local production.
Yeah.
Would you say the majority still is imported though, from Europe?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Well, it's good to know. Where from a personal side, is there places you like go if one of our clients is thinking about vacationing over in Sweden? Where do you go on vacation? Where is your hot spots? Maybe you don't want to give those up because they're private. But,
No, absolutely. I would strongly recommend Stockholm. Stockholm is the capital. It's so beautiful. There's a lot of historical buildings. It's really close to the water. The archipelago outside of Stockholm is amazing, but you should do it during like June to August.
Okay, so June through August is when to go for the archipelago. Great. I will try to book my trip then.
You are so welcome. I will support with beer.
I appreciate that. I will make sure that you can go with me so you can give me all the tips and tricks.
Absolutely.
What about with one of our clients who are visiting on the webinar with us? What about large equipment and special project freight? Is that something that Sweden or even Intex, is it normal to Sweden, and is it something Intex is familiar with?
Absolutely. We do quite a lot of projects, everything from like a full charter when it comes to aircraft and air freight. And so we do handle quite a lot of projects as well.
Okay. And large equipment or oversized equipment isn't a problem for like out of gauge?
Well, of course, there's some minor problems. You might need like a license to drive on certain roads or stuff like that, but it's not a big problem.
Okay.
As long as you get the information good ahead, so you could do all the preparation.
Okay. So Intex can navigate all those issues in regards to transportation. That's
absolutely
good. Okay. That's good. I wanted to encourage anyone else who has questions, get them in so we can definitely get them answered. We've kind of burned through a lot of the questions. There was one question, as you guys are formulating any other questions you might have. I have a question that was posed to me for Jerry, in regard to Swedish culture and Swedish feelings. How does the Swedish people feel about Jim Henson's characterization of the Swedish chef in the Muppets?
Since we do have a sense of humor, we do appreciate it. The melody in the Muppets are about like the Swedish language, but we don't understand a shit. But it sounds like Swedish.
Okay, so it's not a totally accurate characterization, but his the way he talks definitely can be characterized as almost
absolutely
Swedish.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
So no offense.
Okay, I didn't want American Swedish relations to be brought down because of Swedish.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah. We had someone ask if there's a lot of we love your company, your Swedish company called IKEA.
Yeah.
Are they quite prevalent in Sweden, or are there just a few like there are here in America?
They are massive in Sweden. They're about everywhere, and we do a lot of business for IKEA today.
Wow.
So Entex is really, we know them more than well.
That's great. So they're are they like our Starbucks where there's one on every corner?
not that many, but they're in every major city.
That's great. Yeah, I know every time there's always rumors every time a new one's going to pop up, which city it's going to next. So I know a lot of people like to shop there and
yeah, it's amazing.
Even eat there. I know they have great food.
Yeah, so. I do shop there too much, I would say, or at least my wife does. I just have to pay for it.
Yes, yes. Well, it looks like actually we got another one here, and this is more to kind of living over there. What type of heat source is used in the country? Is there stuff like biomass wood pellets, or is it a fireplace, or is it natural gas? What kind of?
No, there's like really environmentally friendly sources. As for example, me myself, I don't know what it's called in English, but it requires very less energy. It's like a self-going system. You heat it up the first time, and then you only have to add a little bit. You bring in the cold air into the house, but since the house is already heated a lot, you don't only have to add a little bit more of energy to keep that new cold air the same temperature as the rest of the house. Okay. So Sweden do focus a lot of energy saving products when it comes to living.
So they tend to, because it is so cold for so long over there, I'm sure heating bills can get quite high. So I'm sure that's what drives it.
The Swedish standards when it comes to like houses and apartments are really high and really well isolated because of the cold, of course. So we do need to spend a lot of money when it comes to those kind of products.
All right.
To keep us warm.
Yeah. Or else you'll be living in like an Eskimo.
Yeah, exactly.
Igloos.
No, it's not that bad, but it's cold.
Okay. Well, great. We've looks like we've went through and answered pretty much every question we were able to get answered or thrown our way. We didn't throw you any. I figured my Swedish chef question would be the curveball. So you handled it beautifully.
Thank you.
But yeah, if any of our participants have questions as we go forward and afterwards, you get done with the webinar and you go, oh, I forgot to ask this, definitely send in those questions and we can email them to Jerry and send out the responses.
Yeah, absolutely. And I could support the best I can.
We actually, another one popped in here. We got, is there a main religion or a particular religion that is the forefront of Swedish culture?
Yeah, Christianity is the biggest,
Okay.
but there's more and more Muslims nowadays because of we do get a lot of immigrants. But I would say that religion hasn't that big impact of the Swedish society as it has in the US.
Okay. So it takes more of a backseat role.
I don't know the reason to that, but it doesn't.
Okay.
So religion isn't that important in Sweden today.
Okay. So it definitely doesn't influence a lot of the business that takes place there or a lot of the culture, unless they're bringing.
No, I wouldn't say. I wouldn't say.
Okay. All right. What about from a cultural standpoint, as we go over there to do business, is there drinking age differences? I know in America it's 21 years of age or older you can drink either on your own or in a establishment. Over there, are there different drinking age laws?
You have to be 20 to be allowed to buy your own liquor in a liquor store.
Okay.
But if you only have to be 18 to go out to the bar and have a beer.
Okay.
So that's a bit strange, but that is how it works.
All right. So you can drink with friends out at dinner, but you can't go home.
Exactly.
All right.
So you can be like drunk as a skunk in the bar, but you're not allowed to buy one single beer in the liquor store.
All right. Well, that's I'm above 18 and 20, so I don't have to worry about that. But if
you're home safe. You're home safe.
That's good. All right. I think I haven't seen anything pop up yet. Oh, how about driving age? Do you have any?
It's 18 with the driving. Actually, my oldest son got his license a couple of weeks ago, so that one I know for sure. It's 18.
So you got a lot more to worry about now that your son is driving than you did a couple months ago. Then, all right.
Yeah, that's for sure.
In regards to driving, are public transportation is that utilized more, or do people own more cars by themselves?
I would say when you get down to the big city areas, the public transportation works out really good. But since Sweden is such a long country,
mm-hmm.
So if you go up north, you need for sure at least 2 cars.
All right. So you need to have your own mode of transportation to get up there.
Yeah, that's for sure. Like a 4-wheel drive or something.
Yes. Don't want to get caught up there.
I would say most families have at least 2 cars.
Okay. Wow. Okay. That's good. Much similar to the US in that regard then. All right.
Yeah, I would say.
We have another kind of animal sector or animal health question. Are there feed mills or feed farms to feed the animals, or do a lot of them just eat the grass or the forage on the ground?
I would say both. It depends. We do focus a lot of like eco-friendly solutions in Sweden nowadays. So if you like have free-going cows, you can charge a bit more for the meat. So it's becoming more popular nowadays. But of course, we have like food farms as well.
Okay. So does that, or I guess you, like most farmers would, you would just store the hay or the grass during the winter times, because you probably, if they're up in the rural areas, exactly. It can be tough to feed them.
That's for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So there are, just like in America, we do have, it can be profitable for some farmers to, be like all grass fed or all all natural or organic, but it can also cost a lot more to get that type of feed.
Exactly.
Okay. All righty. Well, that's good.
Sweden do focus a lot on the environment the last 10 years and try to eat eco-friendly food, try to drive eco-friendly cars. So we do put a lot of focus into that kind of stuff.
Trying to take care of the country you inhabit. That's a great thing.
Yeah, a bit like you have in California, right? They're
Yes.
quite
Yeah.
onto it.
Yes. Yes. In regards to housing over in Sweden, can it be expensive? Is it more expensive to own than to rent, or all of the above? Is all housing expensive, or is it pretty?
The normal way to have a house in Sweden is to own it.
Okay, so there is no rent then.
Exactly, you rent like an apartment.
Okay.
But when it comes to housing, it's the normal way is to you buy your house.
Okay.
And then you own it.
What percentage would you say rent via or versus own I mean, like, what percentage rents apartment versus owning homes? Is it just the younger population that maybe doesn't have the career set?
When you're like younger, when you move from home, you start up in an apartment. Okay. And once you get settled down or getting kids and kind of that, you try to buy a house.
Okay. That's good. That's once again much like America. I mean, we're just copying each other as countries. So that's good.
I think we do, and I think that's one of the reasons why Swedes and Americans works out really good, because the cultural and the daily life is very similar.
All right. Coming back to animal health, we got another question here coming in about it's more of the particulars about how they feed the animals. Do they feed them with like a pellet when you talk about feed mills, or is it just kind of a grains that they mill out?
They do feed them both by dry pellets and like wet food.
Okay. And so, is there machinery there in Sweden or companies that use machinery to manufacture that feed, or is that imported?
That one I don't know, to be honest.
Okay, no problem. That's kind of a broad question, but I'm sure if you did say there was pet food companies that do manufacture over there, so we could probably research that in that regard.
Yeah.
Kind of. All right. That's good. We're getting a lot of great questions from all you guys that are participating. We really appreciate that. That's what helps drive the webinars. If we didn't have you guys, we'd just be talking. Me and Jerry just be talking to ourselves. It might get kind of boring. So. with us. Yeah, so either keep the questions definitely coming in, or if they come in later, we can definitely send out emails to get these answered as well. Now, you said you're in Stockholm today, Jerry, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Your office
because we merged with another smaller company, so I've been doing a lot of sales calls since Monday.
Okay. Got you out working the rings of customers. What would you say? Where do you may have mentioned this, I forgot, but where did you say your offices are located in Sweden and other countries?
We have like 2 offices down south. They are doing mainly trucking. And then we have the head office in Gothenburg. We're doing like trucking, air freight, sea freight, anything. And then we have 2 smaller truck offices on the Swedish countryside. And then we have 1 trucking office in Stockholm and 1 air freight office in Stockholm.
Okay. Do you have any other countries that you operate in as well, or just Sweden?
Yeah, we do have our own offices in Norway, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Germany, and the UK and Scotland.
All right.
But they're doing only trucking.
Okay. All right. So you'd partner with those if we send shipments over. Well, that's good. Once again, we appreciate all the hard work you put in to share with us and to teach us a little bit more about Sweden and how we can do more business with you guys. And we know you're going to be there with us as we navigate future elements with all of our clients and with your clients. So thank you again for your time, Jerry.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you, Kim, for developing this webinar and helping us navigate it. I know I'm sometimes technologically illiterate, so she helps to make sure that the slides are functioning as they should. Once again, thank you guys, everyone else, for attending the webinar and for providing questions. Definitely, if you have more questions as it ends, send them our way. We would love to answer them for you. Or if there's quoting opportunities, definitely Jerry and I could definitely help with that. So until our next webinar, thank you, everyone, and have a great day.
Okay, thank you.